to another special day. Why? Because we begin a whole brand new season and a brand new chapter in the US IndyCar League's storied history here. This is season 13. Yes, believe it or not, been going for 13 seasons, and it just keeps getting better and better each season. Our first race here going to be from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, of course, Las Vegas, Nevada. I am Trevor Greenfield, and you are watching VirtualRacing.Network. So great to have you along with us for yet another great season that we're looking forward to here in the US IndyCar League. Thank you so much for joining us here live or watching from around the world afterwards. Either way, we are set for some awesome night racing action as we just are ready to jump into qualifying for today's action. 127 laps around this storied speedway. Getting to talking a little bit more about that, but let's go ahead and jump down trackside and take our first look at everybody who's going to be out here qualifying today. Of course, we've got on your screen Mr. StickQuik, Richard Kelbaugh, putting in his lap here for qualifying, and we will see where he can put himself. Already up to third for Richard Kelbaugh. Great starting position so far. Jump on board with him as he completes his second lap. Usually second lap, not the fastest, depending on how you're running that first lap. We look for Richard to finish up this lap and does not manage to improve. Does he? Actually, he did. So he did manage to improve on that second lap. We also jump over to Ryan Bowles, who just finishes up his qualifying lap, putting in a second fastest. Twice race winner last season, Ryan Bowles. And would you believe it, he's already off the track, but Jason Lowe taking pole position thus far. Here's David Zaleski. Now pulling it down to park it, and here's a newcomer, Tony Profit, heading out onto the track, and Iñigo Mardones, series regular, heading out there. Will this be Iñigo Mardones' chance at a victory, and will this be his season? He's been so on the cusp of possibly getting up there and getting one of those victories. In the meantime, two-time champion, reigning champion, Graham Bunyan, just finishing up his qualifying effort. We'll get over to see him a lot more in the race, but we'll stick with Iñigo Mardones since he's on a hot flyer right now. Also of note, David Strid just heading out onto the track, multiple race winner David Strid from last season, and series contending driver for sure. We're going to have to look for him as a challenger for this season. Absolutely. Keep your eyes on that David Strid, number 48 machine. Here's Mardones across the line for his qualifying effort. And it's good enough for 7th. Now we'll jump over and take a look at last season's race winner and fantastic challenger and countryman to eventual two-time now champion Graham Bunyan. David Strid, his good friend, and also racing with that Race Lab apps sponsorship on there, which is pretty cool. They give away those liveries if you subscribe to them. And of course, we use Race Lab apps. I use it personally for racing, but we use it for a little bit of extra timing and scoring information for ourselves here in the race booth at VirtualRacing.Network. So that's a great program he's hooked up with. Don't know if that'll eventually be his permanent livery or for any of these drivers, as they can change them every single week. But he's giving Race Labs some definite exposure as he takes pole position here for today's race at Las Vegas. As the iRacing pace car heads down, we're going to take a look at some of our notes for today's race. And first, we'll get the qualifying order up on the screen so that we're all on the same page here heading into this race. Of course, qualifying's not going to mean too much, but it does tell you who's got that car working right. And it's David Strid and Jason Lowe who are going to be on that front row. And whether or not Jason Lowe can manage to stop this Australian force that is in this United States IndyCar League between David Strid and Graham Bunyan and occasionally Matty Simpson when he's here. But right now it's Jason Lowe in the Australian sandwich there. And so then starting on second row, it'll be defending champion Graham Bunyan and Ryan Bowles. Bowles also a race winner. And then starting on the third row will be James Kennedy and Howard Livingston. Livingston and Kennedy both winners here in the league in recent seasons. Last season, Kennedy taking victory as well. Zaleski. David Zaleski making a return. Great to have him back in the field, as well as Iñigo Mardones, Kelbaugh, and Mr. StickQuik, Richard Kelbaugh, I should say. Manuel Gomez Esteban. Will Stearns going to be in the field today, as well as Mike West. All of these drivers very capable of pulling off a race win. And, of course, welcome to Troy Profit. And, Troy, if you're watching this back, we're not going to give you a lot of screen time because we can't do the whole commercial logos without permission thing anymore, so we'll have to look into that in the future. A lot of the drivers having to adjust their liveries, and we apologize for that, but we're not alone. Every broadcaster is mandating it, including Apex, Race Spot, and all the rest. So if you're going to come and join US IndyCar League, only thing we ask is that you have permission to use the logos on your car. So back to it. I mean, I personally, Trevor Greenfield, I don't care. Doesn't... you put stickers on it, it goes faster. That's all I know. Okay, so we're going to take one quick look here as we have a chance to look at how last season ended up for those of you that were in a cave or under a rock. It was Graham Bunyan who took a whole bunch of wins, and he cruised to victory, basically taking the championship about 2 races early. But David Strid put on a fantastic challenge, especially as of late, really cleaning up his act, stopping those unforced errors and managing to take 2 victories in the series. You see also a couple of victories going to David Zaleski, 2 to Ryan Bowles. So definitely some contenders here. Howard Livingston with a great 3rd place in the championships. Congratulations to him, of course. So we'll get that off of the screen and get set for today's action on track. I hope you're ready. Again, any one of these drivers are so skilled, so talented that really it could be anybody's race here today. And this is the way that you want to start the season, with a great finish. Get yourself headed into this 12 race long season with, in the right way. Start it with a nice standings, going into the standings for the rest of the season.
Green.
Here we go. We're ready for season 13. It's David Strid leading us to the green flag out in front. And no problems thus far. We take a look back through the field. Everybody making it through. No problems on the start. Little single file, but we do expect that is going to change here very soon. That was what I was talking about. It doesn't really matter too much about your qualifying. This race is probably going to see a lot of pack racing, but either way, should be some super exciting wheel-to-wheel US IndyCar action here on VirtualRacing.Network. And as we've already completed 1 lap, starting on our 2nd lap, we've got David Strid still leading, but you see who's moved into 2nd. It is defending champion Graham Bunyan. He wanted to waste absolutely no time. He's managed to climb up into that 2nd place. Looks like Jason Lowe still sporting that same iRacing default livery, but it still looks pretty good, and nobody's going to miss him out there in that bright pink and yellow livery, that's for certain. He's actually dropped back 1 position now from the 2nd place starting position into 3rd, and then we have Howard Livingston here racing for the Care Camps organization. Once again, a proud supporter not only of the US IndyCar League, but proud to support the Care Camps organization. It puts him on their side pod, and of course, sponsors a race each season, and every lap he completes in that race, he donates to the Care Camps organization. So definitely a great cause and something you should look into if you haven't already. And there he is racing side by side with Iñigo Mardones, who, by the way, has climbed 4 positions now since the start. I mentioned it at the top of the broadcast. He is definitely someone to watch, as we're now stacking up 2 by 2 from row 3 on back. Looks like an outside line forming here with Manuel Gomez Esteban, now fellow Spaniard, to Iñigo Mardones, hopping behind and trying to ride that train on the outside, around the outside of Jason Lowe they go, and it's Mardones up to 3rd. Mardones now looking at the backside of Graham Bunyan and challenging on the outside. And it's Mardones to the 2nd position. Manuel Gomez Esteban in a fantastic run here all the way up into 4th. Now challenging Bunyan on the outside for 3rd. As Lowe now drops back to 5th position. This one is a killer race thus far. Hope you're enjoying it. Hopefully my audio levels are sounding okay as well. Give us a thumbs up over in the YouTube if you're around watching, and if you are enjoying it, I do appreciate it. Like I said, give us a like and subscribe. And in the meantime, we're already rocking and rolling in season 13. We've got David Strid, who's leading us, but not for long. It's Iñigo Mardones on the outside, and Manuel Gomez Esteban as well. Can they push their way to the front? Will it be the Australian juggernaut, or will it be the Spanish juggernaut? That is the question. In the meantime, as we look further back, we've got Tony Profit, newcomer to the league, on the outside of Jason Lowe. So that's a battle happening now for 4th, and now Profit up behind Iñigo Mardones, with Manuel Gomez Esteban now having switched over to the inside line behind Graham Bunyan. Everybody just forming up here 2 by 2 behind, as we now see Will Stearns and Howard Livingston entering that picture again, just behind James Kennedy. I think some of these other drivers kind of sitting back a little bit and saying, I don't want part of that mess if all these cars tangle, and that certainly could happen. So just a recap, here we are on lap 12 of 127, so basically about a 10th of the way through it. It has flown by, but thus far no cautions. Very clean here in the US IndyCar League each and every season. And so far this one has been everything that we have hoped it would be, with lots of close racing with these Dallara IR18 Indy cars. Let's go ahead and jump on board. Here's the newcomer, Tony Profit. This is what it looks like from his roll bar as he tries to chase down. On the inside, it's Manuel Gomez Esteban racing for Team Mazinger. And just in front, racing for Necki Racing Team, that's Iñigo Mardones. So as I mentioned, you are watching Season 13 here for the US IndyCar League, and so great to have you on VirtualRacing.Network. We continue here on lap 15. It is still the same. It's Strid and Bunyan with Iñigo Mardones. And now Troy Profit up into that 4th spot, so gaining 9 positions here on debut thus far. Just behind, as I mentioned, it's Manuel Gomez Esteban, Spaniard from Valladolid, Spain. And right about now, you're trying to figure out, okay, if I'm out in front, like David Strid possibly, Graham Bunyan, I'm saying I'm somewhat comfortable with this as Jason Lowe possibly looks to the to the outside of Manuel Gomez-Esteban there, tries to split the two Spaniards, fought better of it and kind of backed out. Now taking another look as this action continues to move around pretty fast. Starting to slip off the back though, we're seeing Mike West and Richard Kelbaugh slipping a little bit off of the back, so we're gonna have to keep watch on that. Perhaps the adjustment's not quite working exactly the same, but they are in the perfect place. Should a big tangle happen in front of them and they can avoid it, they will possibly march their ways right up to the front. But speaking of the front, here's the look out of David Strid's machine. There's no chaos. It's as though he's on the track by himself. Well, just don't look in those mirrors, because that's what's back there. It's well, it's all going on behind you, I suppose, so you're not too scared about it, but that is a bunch of angry bees that want to come up and sting you at some point, so you gotta keep your head on a swivel and make sure that you are aware of when these other cars might make a lunge up towards the front. And once again, glad to have you all with us and watching live here at VirtualRacing.Network. So great to be with you for the third season in a row. We actually technically covered the very last of season 10, the very last race of that season, and it's been non-stop ever since then, as we see Gomez-Esteban defending quite well here in the mid-pack, and he's doing a heck of a job of racing side by side with his fellow countryman Iñigo Mardones. I have no idea if that's intentional. I don't even know if they race together on the same voice chat or if they're strictly competitors. I would love to know. We never get a chance to actually talk to them after the race. Maybe someday, especially if I can improve my Spanish un poquito. But nevertheless, just like some of the other drivers, even if they are teammates, once you're out there on the track, you just find ways of working with other drivers, and certain things do seem to work better than others. Right now, these two drivers from Spain kind of performing a blockade on the rest of the competition. And now Jason Lowe does manage to stick his nose under the backside of Gomez-Esteban and get that toe up to the front. It looks like that outside line starting to fall off maybe a little bit, although there goes Lowe to the outside. Does Lowe know something that we don't? This the view out the left side of Jason Lowe's machine as he rides the high side around Graham Bunyan. Here, racing lap number 25 of 127. He makes that pass stick. You see him in the mirror there. Bunyan back to third and Lowe up to second. Guess he saved some of that outside line magic for a quarter of the way to the century mark on the number of laps. You can see they continue to fight side by side. Fighting side by side here on lap 27 of the first round here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And it's Graham, this is two champions, multiple time champions of the US IndyCar League here fighting side by side for second place. Graham Bunyan on the inside and Jason Lowe on the outside. Graham's got 2 titles to his name now. Lowe's got 3. Will it be a third championship and rival that mark of Jason Lowe? I think he's ready, poised, and able this season to double down. Jason Lowe is, and reclaim that title. Unfortunately, Lowe finding out he's had some health issues recently, and gonna have to be battling that over the course of this season. But a number of these drivers also reporting in with some different health issues that are, you know, these are limitations, but we get a chance to escape that for just a minute and head out there on the track and, you know, forget all that stuff. And I think that's one of the beautiful things of the US IndyCar League. Great group of gentlemen drivers and champions out here. And it looks like Strigg kind of moves to the outside there, or washes up the track, as Bunyan now moves to the 4. I think Strigg saying, I'm done leading this because, oh, and there we have Strigg dropping. Is he trying to make it to the pits? He did, in fact. We apologize. Weren't quite prepared for him to be jumping in quite yet on 31. But it looks like he makes it in, as well as Tony Profit and Iñigo Mardones also into the pits. And now out of the pits, a little slow coming off of that pit speed limiter, though. Not sure if we had an incident. I'm going to take a look back. And in fact, it was Iñigo Mardones. We just missed it. Apologize for that. Off screen, Mardones. This is exactly what happened just moments ago. So let's go ahead and back it up. I'm not exactly sure where the slide began for Mardones. Here he was. And there he's sliding backwards. Might have just missed it. Let's take a look. Did he happen to touch the wall? It's on the outside here. Gets up high a little bit. Tony Profit tries to come underneath. Kind of lost him there. It's possible he might have had a little bit of damage. Not really sure. He might have had a tiny bit of damage from that Tony Profit incident. And then as he continues around, Will Stern makes his way around. Mike West makes his way around. And then it's moments later that Mardones has an issue and spins to the inside. Let's take a look at that. And there it is. Mardones actually dips down to the apron, and that sends him around. I'm not sure what he was trying to do with that move. I think he just gets a little overcorrection there. Perhaps the right rear tire getting a little burned off as he made those moves to get to the high side on the outside. I guess to the high side, that is the outside, and get up towards the front. So now we'll jump back to the live picture. As we were away, we did miss some drivers who actually came in and pitted. So actually now everybody has pitted. And would you believe that David Zaleski now? I mean, I would believe it because he's shown his speed. He's won races in the past. He's always a contender, but Zaleski, purple sectors 1 and 2, and the fastest car thus far today at 24.21 lap time around this track, utilizing that draft to very high effectiveness. And there he goes around the outside of James Kennedy. So watch that orange and white machine, orange, white, and black machine, as he's now up in some familiar territory, racing around the front and trying to get around newcomer Troy Profit, who is actually showing very well today. Troy is up into 4th, 9 positions gained from where he where he was qualified. Unfortunately, I don't think that outside train is going as fast as he had wanted. But back up at the front after pit stops, it is in fact David Strid, who started the race on the pole. He's currently running in first, and he's led almost all the laps. I think just giving possibly Graham Bunyan a chance to lead for a moment and take those bonus points, which really do all add up at the end of the season. And as I was talking about at the end of last season, and now Jason Lowe slipping back into third with Troy Profit alongside, and now here comes David Zaleski to challenge David Strid. I'll finish that thought in a moment. David Zaleski, I think, took the lead on that one and will get the bonus point for leading a lap. Again, you get a bonus point for leading a lap and bonus point for leading the most laps. So an easy way each week to pick up some extra points. And again, looking very crucially at those points from last season, you can see how those bonus points for somebody like Graham Bunyan, who picked up 29 of them, can easily make a difference at the end of the season between first and third or second and fourth. It is just that tight of a battle in this US IndyCar League. So we continue here on lap 43. It's David Zaleski out of New York. Great to have him back here in the league. We sure hope we get to see him in most of the races, if not all of the races this season, because look at this guy. He's pulling out on everyone else. How is he even doing this? He's pulling out a 0.3 of a second gap, possibly trying to break away from that draft, but it's easier said than done for the Z-Man. Take a look a little closer at the Z-Man. Sadly, he was one of the larger casualties of the clampdown on commercial sponsorship, as he was able to race previously with all of his favorite food and beverage sponsors on board, but I guess that's commercialness and just where internet broadcasting is at in 2021 going into 2022. We're taking it that seriously now that it's kind of a statement of the day, but nevertheless, how cool is this? You know, I mean, sometimes you just got to do a reality check. We are racing here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. All these drivers actually physically located in totally different parts of the world. We've got 2 Australians in the field. We've got 2 Spaniards in the field. Multiple drivers from all kinds of different states. Right now here, where I'm broadcasting from, the sun is just rising, and we're racing at nighttime in Las Vegas. So you gotta love it, and it looks pretty real on TV as well. You gotta just love where we're at in 2021, 2022 in terms of being able to fulfill our racing fantasies. It's realer than ever. And part of that here on VirtualRacing.Network, we're so happy to have the participation and funding coming from the US IndyCar League, of which Jason Lowe, Howard Livingston, and Richard Kelbaugh are a major driving factor of that funding. And as a result, we're able to bring you ultra high definition 4K coverage of not only the US IndyCar League, but all of the additional series that we have been covering here on VirtualRacing.Network. And so, again, just another statement of the time. Back in the old days when we were all starting out sim racing, I mean, I was using a little 15-inch monitor and always wondered what it would be like someday to be able to do something like this. And here we are, flash forward about 20 years. It's pretty cool stuff. But back to the racing here. David Zaleski leads us. He'll get that point, of course, for leading that lap. But David Strid sitting in second. Now, let us talk, as we usually do, about fuel mileage and how this might shake out. If you are in the lead, you are going to burn more fuel, and while that doesn't make a huge difference in terms of being able to, quote, undercut or overcut your competition, what it does allow is, if you're able to fuel save just a couple extra laps, should this come down to cautions, possibly dictating the fuel strategy at the end of this one, those who can survive those extra couple of laps could do something pretty amazing if a caution fell at the right time. They could trap their whole competition about a lap down. That's one option. Another option is that if it comes down to everybody needing to stop who didn't save fuel as much, with like 1 lap to go or 2 laps to go, if it's close on fuel, those who have the fuel to make it to the very end are the ones who might emerge victorious. And I'm thinking of a race not very long ago when I saw Dan Ensch fall out of the lead. And speaking of which, very sad to not see Dan Ensch here in today's field. I'm sure we'll get a chance to see him next race. For those of you, the Dan Ensch fans, continue to follow the Spark VR Last Lap Motorsports driver racing for the ALZ.org organization, but he'll be hopefully back in the field next week. But Dan Ensch unfortunately lost victory just by 1 lap, and he's a fuel saving master, but he just wasn't quite on the right strategy that particular day. And so that's why this is so crucial, especially given what we're seeing right here with this train of cars. Zaleski, Strid, Lowe, Bunyan, Kennedy, Livingston, and Profit and Profit in that group. And then slipping off the back a little bit, it is Ryan Bowles and Mike West. And again, if Ryan is listening, we're going to have to change that livery going forward. Will Stearns in 10th place, and Manuel Gomez Esteban in 11th. And so this is a little bit of a group that's formed here in the back, sticking together. This is about, they've fallen a little ways off the pace, and now Bowles jumping down onto pit lane to pit. Don't see any sort of notes that say why he would have pitted if he possibly touched the wall. But there you can see the field goes streaming by, and that's exactly what I was just saying a moment ago. You don't want to be the guy that has to pit when everyone else can do another 2, 3, 4 laps, because this is exactly what can happen. You'll lose a lot of time. Now, like I said, there are ways to make it up with cautions, and there are ways to get a wave around during that caution. But especially if you lose this lead group's draft, as we can see with this second group that has formed up, we've got Mike West about almost 4 seconds now, drifting further and further back, 4 seconds off the back of the pack. Now, Mike West is a winner in the US IndyCar League previously, so you know, he definitely knows what he's doing, but some of these drivers are going to start suffering these tire degradation to some degree, and possibly just start losing that lead draft. And so my point is, if you lose that lead draft, unless you can find a partner to work together with, it's going to be very, very difficult at the end of a stint to even try to pull yourself back up into that lead group. So you've got to stay within a second or two. So we can now see Troy Profit coming down into the pits here on lap 61. So making his pit stop on the other side of the pit boxes. And now we've got some of our other leaders. There's Zaleski, not quite as fast getting onto pit road as David Strid, who came down his outside, possibly overtook him. We're going to need to see how this works out, as these two drivers are now going to battle leaving pit road. You see Richard Kelbaugh, Mr. StickQuik, leaving pit road there. And we're rapidly approaching halfway through our 127 laps, 190 miles here. Can't believe it goes by so quickly, but it does. And in fact, it is Strid who gets out just in front. So that pit entry costing David Zaleski just a little bit. He's right there on his tail, and he won't want to lose that draft on Strid. There you see in the background Gomez Esteban, who has yet to make his second stop. So there, Gomez Esteban heading in. And of course, we thank his participation and his funding last season as well. We will let you know when we do put the funding options available for Season 3 for any other competitors or fans or family that want to contribute to VirtualRacing.Network. I mean, like any business, the more funding we get, it pretty much just goes straight back into our equipment and overhead costs. So anything that is donated certainly does help and gives us a little bit more time to work on things and make it a little bit more professional for all of you who watch during the race and afterwards. Here's Jason Lowe pitting out of that lead group. As I mentioned, that he has 3 championships to his name. And then Graham Bunyan said, hey, I'm going to start taking this a little bit more seriously. I'm going to start showing up for all the races, and I'm going to get out there and do my best. And Graham was able to overtake Jason Lowe in season 11 for that championship. But the only thing really, from my standpoint, that I have ever seen really cost Jason Lowe a race win, I mean, he would be on the podium each and every week if it weren't for self-inflicted problems. Just not really scraping walls. As you see that lead group go by there, now Lowe's going to want to hang on to that lead group. He does not want to fall off of this pack as they go by. Needs to use that draft to stay up with them. But yes, it's just been a story of, as we see now, I want to make sure I get all of the coverage in, but Graham Bunyan now onto pit lane, as well as James Kennedy just behind him. And now for the virtual lead of the race, it's David Zaleski, but leading 1 lap, it is Howard Livingston, so he'll get that bonus point as well. And again, all these drivers, I mean, maybe they're all going to lead a lap today, but nevertheless, getting that bonus point so crucial. But Zaleski going to take over the lead once again once everything cycles around and finishes out. So that's amazing that Livingston able to stretch to lap 68 there before pitting, because that's kind of Dan Ensch fuel saving sort of territory. And once again, that puts him in a little bit of a different zip code. Because we're talking about Ryan Bowles coming in on lap 56, who's currently sitting in 3rd. And we're talking about David Zaleski and David Strid, the Davids, both coming in on lap 61. So when you take a look at a couple of drivers like Graham Bunyan, James Kennedy coming in on 67, Howard Livingston coming in on 68, that is a big difference in what laps they came in on, and that is going to create a different strategy. So should a caution come out, it will affect all of these drivers a little differently, and as a result, at the end of this one, we might see somebody different at the front of this than we possibly are seeing right now. But we'll keep an eye on that. It's David Zaleski followed by David Strid as we are over halfway here in our first round of Season 13 for the US IndyCar League. And as he flies down the backstretch here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway with the lights blaring overhead and the flash bulbs going off in the stands for the sold-out crowd, it's amazing how every single race for the US IndyCar League has been completely sold out. We thank the hundreds of thousands of virtual fans who have paid all of that money for their virtual tickets. But David Zaleski under the lights here in Las Vegas. You can see the little mountains off in the background. Goodness, I love the realism of sim racing today. So fun. David Zaleski leading us here, and take a look back. Proudly, the New Yorker continuing. And possibly going to go for that. I mean, here's another thing. Leading the most laps, you do get bonus points as well. So it's all going to add up at the end of the season. But I think the most amazing thing is, just like my friend and fellow co-commentator from the past, a couple of seasons ago, Matt Kingsbury would say, I like what David Zaleski's doing. You know, if you're not going to do the fuel save strat and hang off the back and try and make it work that way, you know, get up there in the front and make them come to you. I mean, it can work that way as well. If the caution falls in your favor, there's no reason not to be out there in the clean air, and absolutely zero chance of getting tangled up in somebody's incident. You take a look a little bit further back, it's David Stridd and Ryan Bowles who are now battling for that second spot. But should something happen to one of these two, the others that are behind will, of course, get caught up in that kind of mess. As we're over halfway here, I think it's only fitting that since we started our coverage in Season 11, that we continue to pay tribute to the man himself, the Lionheart himself. We'll just get this information up here on the screen for you to take a look at. Absolutely beautiful man, always had a smile on his face, and part of the life of IndyCar. You can see there, Indy 500 winner, IndyCar Series champion, Daytona 24 Hours winner. I mean, the accomplishments are many, but the gap that's left still in IndyCar with his passing is still very felt by many. And of course, he passed away here at this track. And one of the reasons why we do not in real life come back to this track, and this sort of style of racing has lost favor, is for exactly that reason. We appreciate Dan Weldon, and as a result, I think we'll go silent here for a lap, and we appreciate you sticking with us while we do so. And as we continue our coverage here on lap 82 of 127, it's been absolutely green flag, clean racing thus far. And look who makes his move to the outside. It's Ryan Bowles, former race winner from last season. Will he be able to capture some of that excellence this season? He's given it a shot, and now you've got two former winners who are trying to start their season off a little differently, as they've now managed to steal that lead front row off of the Australians David Stridd and Graham Bunyan. Jason Lowe now sitting back in 5th, and James Kennedy in 6th. Newcomer Troy Profit in 7th. Howard Livingston back in 8th, but of course, got to keep an eye on that Howard Livingston machine. He's not up there running with that lead group. He slipped off the back a little bit, but he is on a completely different fuel strategy. Could totally work out in his favor. We will find out at the end of this one. And of course, this is the Las Vegas 190 presented by StickQuik. We're going to have another moment here where we'll get a chance to talk about StickQuik, but again, StickQuik, the presenting sponsor of all these races, and the US IndyCar League now going on for multiple seasons. So great to have their participation as we see Ryan Bowles trying to get a point for leading a lap, and Zaleski just sticking to that bottom white line. That's the old, as Gary Godso calls it, my fellow commentator also does the Raceverse and Velocity Online racing stuff, but fellow commentator from this last season for the NTT IndyCar Fixed Series on iRacing likes to call it the IRL line down there at the white line, and I'm guilty. I've won an official open race by just sticking on that white line down there. I've done it. I ain't afraid, because you know what? If you don't do it, somebody else is going to. As you see Ryan Bowles now making that pit stop, and he did not get a chance, I don't believe, to actually lead a lap, but I don't get that information as to the number of laps officially led. Wish I did. So we have to wait for after the race to get that info. And Will Stearns now dropping off the pack. He's going to make his way into the pits. He's had a very clean, good race today. And that's great to see, because Stearns is one of those competitors who's shown moments of brilliance in the past. And definitely been up towards the front in a number of different races. Look back at Richard Kelbaugh now into the pits as well. So we continue here, heading towards lap 90. I mean, we are almost 3/4 of the way through this one as the leader, David Zaleski, once again, not able to work that fuel strategy to perfection because he can't save fuel when you're really out there in front. So able to get a bunch of laps led, but it's going to lead the front group into the pit lane, and we're going to wait to see when David Strid and Bunyan, Lowe, and Kennedy are going to have to respond. Now, if you recall, Strid and Zaleski came in on exactly the same lap last time. And the fact that Strid is still out there just really lets you know exactly how much fuel saving these drivers that are not leading are able to do. So we also have newcomer Troy Profit onto, I keep calling him newcomer Troy Profit. It'll only happen for one race, I promise. US IndyCar League rookie Troy Profit now on pit lane. Should make him have to wear the white stripe. That's sort of it's a hazing ritual of sorts. When you're a rookie in a series, you got to carry the white stripe on the back. But nevertheless, David Strid here in second place with fellow countryman Graham Bunyan in front. If it had been this way all race, you'd think it was just status quo and business as usual for these two, but it really hasn't been, as many other drivers have poked their nose up in the front. And by the way, guess who else is up there? It's Jason Lowe, as Strid now bailing out and going into the pits. We can get onto the correct car. There we go. It's Strid into the pits. So able to go many laps further than David Zaleski. Take a look at David Zaleski and where he's at on the track. Let's go ahead and get the track map up there so you can see where everyone's at. And there you go. You can follow along. We'll put the initials in there so you can follow your favorite driver. Of course, you see David Zaleski circled here. And now Jason Lowe onto pit lane, as well as Manuel Gomez Esteban. Team Mazinger now into the pits, drops down off of the jacks and underway. Fuel man sprays off the excess fuel. Make sure that there's no virtual fires on that virtual number 99 Super Mango Team Mazinger special for Manuel Gomez Esteban. back up at the front, it is Graham Bunyan, who's still in the lead. He managed to save a bunch of fuel, so I think Bunyan realizing that he really did need to slow his pace a little bit. He didn't quite need to be out there in the front. He needed to take advantage of some of the fuel saving available, because this one has turned into quite a close race. Probably a little closer than Graham Bunyan would like to see for comfort. I think he would have liked for he and David to be in a little bit better control at the front of this, but nevertheless, he is doing what he does best, taking advantage of the air flow, and able to save some extra fuel. Currently going to lap 99, and our earliest stopper, Ryan Bowles, on lap 87. A number of other drivers, Stearns and Kelbaugh, on lap 87. But a number of the other front runners, lap 93 for David Strid, lap 94 for Jason Lowe. And finally, here comes Graham Bunyan into the pits. And in the meantime, that's going to let James Kennedy, the Texan, come forward and try and... He's already led a lap now, so he'll get the bonus point for that, but he's going to try to outlast everybody here and take victory. And, you know, now we're in the fuel window, so I don't think it's necessarily important to keep going further. But one thing to keep in mind, if you can go a substantial amount further, maybe, you know, another 5 laps than everybody else. Oh, and Kennedy really struggling to get into the pits, and there he wipes out from the lead. A little late to try to make that pit entry. Does not bring out a caution. Fortunately, he did. It does look like he made the timing stripe, so though he will have to take damage repair, sadly, and he's going to go ahead and tow to the pits, and that's actually the right thing to do from that spot with that much damage. That's very unfortunate circumstance, but for those of you that are watching new to the Indy cars, I'm just going to say it, there's still a bug. I don't know if it's been fixed. They said they fixed it a long time ago, but it wasn't fixed the last time I checked. You've got to tow into the pits if you have a substantial amount of damage, especially steering damage, because there is still a very good likelihood that the car does not get fully repaired. It's a bug, and it existed in a bigger way before, but I think it still exists. So the right way to do it now is pretty much show up a few car lengths before your pit box and then tow to your pit box. And that is about the only way to get them to actually fix the damage perfectly. Otherwise, what happens is it says that it fixed it, and the car looks fixed, but it still drives like... I was going to compare it to something that does not drive well, but it's a bathtub. It's a dump truck. And yeah, anyway, back to the lead here. It's Ryan Bowles who's in the lead. He did stop earlier than everyone else, and you see David Strid now in second. I don't think Bowles can make it on fuel, so that's gonna definitely be an issue. But Bowles can't make it on fuel, but Livingston can't either. He came in... I'll actually take it back. Livingston made it in on lap 96, so there is a likelihood that Livingston could make it. I know that Strid came in on 93, so it's going to be a little tight for him. He's going to have to make it 35 laps. I think he can make it, though. I think his last time he went 37, so... Anyway, I don't know if that... Let's actually look at the wrong column there, so I don't know if that number is actually accurate. Let's take a look here at this graphic. This might give us a little bit better of an indicator. And there you can see a little bit better as far as who stopped and when they stopped. So let's do a little rundown through the field and get this pit info off. And in the meantime, just keep your eyes glued to that timing and scoring on the left-hand side, as we will try to keep up with all of this field strategy that's going on for you. As things continue to fly in and off the screen. Always fun doing live broadcasts. Ryan Bowles in first. He's not on the same fuel strat as everyone else. I don't think he can make it to the end. He's going to have to stop, but it is David Strid in second. Qualified on the pole. He's going to be back to the lead here momentarily. And there you see Graham Bunyan also in third. He's fallen off of the back. He's about 5.5 seconds behind David Strid now. So that's quite a difference. And so Strid able to pull out a gap, strong gap. And if Strid can make it to the end, which I believe he possibly can if he can really stretch that tank somehow, he's going to be well clear of this group. So unless somehow Graham Bunyan and Howard Livingston can work together and get this group back up there to Strid, it's really Strid's race to lose here. if that is going to be the case, and Strid can make it to the end. Bunyan, of course, coming in 6 laps later. Howard Livingston coming in 3 laps later than David Strid. And now Troy Profit, rookie Troy Profit, jumping down onto pit lane. And of course, this is a pretty good time to bring it up if you want to join the US IndyCar League. Hey, it's free to enter. Just show that you've done some IndyCar races in official or some league racing and that you're a capable driver. And there's a link down in the description, as well as you could just head over to iRacing.com and use the league function, apply to the US IndyCar League. And Jason Lowe will write you back, or you can write Jason Lowe and talk to him. But either way, might be asked to come out and do the practice session on Saturday and do a quick eval. But especially if you don't have a lot of experience in Indy cars, just make sure that you can run lines and stay clean. But that's how easy it is to get out here and be broadcasted on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Come out here and give your best shot at a strategy. And in the meantime, it's Ryan Bowles, David Strid, Graham Bunyan, your top 3. As Ryan Bowles now tries to make that late pit entry. Don't know if I believe they'll allow that. I don't think he crossed at the inappropriate place after the timing stripe. So then Manuel Gomez-Esteban back in 6th. Mike West running in 7th place, and David Zaleski, unfortunately, looking like he had some issues, but now running back in 8th. We wait for everybody to pit stop cycle, but this is the car to watch out for. David Strid, as he's following Manuel Gomez-Esteban, and this is exactly really what everybody didn't want to see, the chance for Strid to follow another competitor and continue to save mad fuel. That's if he's going to have a chance to make it to the end, he's got to back way out. Let's see if he does so at the end of the straights. I don't know if he can afford to. He might lose the draft off the back of the Team Mazinger machine. But Strid continuing here in the desert night. You're watching round 1 of season 13. And it's exciting, but we are going to take a look at something else that's super exciting. Well, we're not going to miss anything because we're side by side here, but the StickQuik. Hey, you've heard about it, you've seen it. What does it do? Well, let me tell you, as a proud owner of the StickQuik, this is an absolutely amazing device that you just look at it there on your screen and you see how easy it is to stick virtually anything to virtually anything else. because it comes in 6 different colors, 3 different sizes in one package, 3 different sizes, and you can see here on your screen what it does. You basically can put it around the handles on anything, toothbrushes to wrenches, and this heavy-duty silicone weather-resistant device will hold it in place, and then you can attach it directly to any sort of steel or anything that will take a magnetic connection. And they also provide these little sticky pads that you can put anywhere that you want to, and then you can stick that thing to literally any kind of surface that you can stick the sticky pad to. So I mean, let your mind run wild. And again, it's the holidays. It's a great time to pick up one of these, and or about 10 or 20 of them. They're, if you're doing holiday shopping, you got a big holiday list, why not buy them now? It's the 1st of December, first part of December. You probably get them in the mail in just a couple of weeks, or within that time period, be able to get your gifting done all in one fell swoop. If you know a gearhead, or perfect for anybody, even just family members, grandma and grandpa, anybody who's got stuff around the house, they'll find the novelty, I think, of the StickQuik pretty amazing as well. Because I've never seen anything quite like it, and certainly fills a lot of needs in our life. So, back to it though, we do appreciate StickQuik for their ongoing support and funding of these broadcasts, and of course the rest of the costs associated with the US IndyCar League. Strongly suggest you show your support by heading over and helping them to recover some of those costs. So here it is. It's Graham Bunyan who's taken over the lead from David Strid, as they've now managed to catch up. It's Bunyan and Livingston, first and second. Livingston with a race win here in the previous season at Las Vegas. He says he loves this track. Doesn't quite know why it works so perfectly for him, and he's not really had the same success at other D-shapers, but he loves this place. And racing for that Care Camps organization, it's always great to see he's able to get that car up there and on TV. Now chasing down series defending champion Graham Bunyan, as we are just 3 laps to go. Will it be Livingston? Will it be Bunyan? Will it be Strid? That is anyone's question. Can Strid hang on to it with the fuel, or will he run out of fuel? He's now racing side by side with Mike West, who is not part of this conversation, and just behind that pink car, that's Jason Lowe. So he's running in 4th, but with 2 to go, this is your battle happening right here. In first, it's Graham Bunyan. In 2nd place, Howard Livingston. And in 3rd place, it's David Strid. Although David Zaleski is up there giving these guys a fight, he is not in this race battle here for this lead, as Jason Lowe manages to overtake Strid for 3rd. Here we are on the final lap. Will it be Bunyan? Will it be Livingston? As we head to the line, Livingston tries the outside, but it's too little too late. And Graham Bunyan victorious here in round 1, continuing his championship ways, and coming from 2 spots back on the grid and facing some adversity through the way with different fuel strategies. Big shout out to Graham Bunyan, who conquers yet another race with excellent driving, and absolutely caution free here. Great to have Howard Livingston up there on the podium and back to championship ways. Looks like he's coasting, perhaps low out of fuel there. He's coasting it in, but it's again great to have Lowe back to his old ways of finding that speed on the racetrack and giving us a run in the championship. But this is the guy who did it, and did it to perfection. He saved fuel when he needed to, and he takes victory here in round 1 for the US IndyCar League. Congratulations once again to Graham Bunyan. And he does some of these awesome donuts Of course, so popular in the US IndyCar League as well as all the IndyCar action. Pretty amazing to think that Alex Zanardi started that so long ago. And it's continued to become a tradition. So we've got our podium finishers here on the front straightaway. And we're going to get the official race results here up on the screen. There it is, taking victory in the first race of the season. It's Graham Bunyan with the win, and second place going to Howard Livingston. As the fireworks go off here in the background at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Jason Lowe taking a very well-deserved third place and starting off the season with a bang. David Strid falling back to fourth there, just did not work to his advantage. David Zaleski finishing fifth after a great run up at the front. Mike West taking sixth place. Absolutely fantastic start of the season for Mike West. Unfortunately, I think he had the pace to be a little bit further up as well as David Zaleski. Ryan Bowles gave it a look early on, but fell back to seventh at the very end. Troy Profit makes a good debut. He showed well and was up in the top five for a moment. Fortunately, ending up back there in eighth. Manuel Gomez Esteban in ninth. He had a great run going again in that opening stint, getting up as high as, I believe, third. Richard Kelbaugh, Mr. StickQuik, in 10th place, getting in a solid finish. And Will Stearns, unfortunately, he had a really good race going today. Threw a lot of it, but again, having an issue and ending up 2 laps off the pace there at the end. James Kennedy also had a great race going. Unfortunately, losing control while in the lead and coming down to make a pit stop, and I'm sure he's frustrated by that. The Texan going to come back, though, I'm sure, and be a great force here at the end. And Iñigo Mardones, racing for Necky Racing Team, having also another incident. Not sure if that was netcode related, but nevertheless, let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to jump into our interview circle, and great to have. Let's see who we can grab here. Well, we're going to come to Jason Lowe, who was your podium finisher. We'll talk to him here at the end, but why don't we go ahead and start with our second place finisher, racing for the Care Camps organization. It's Howard Livingston. Hey, Howard, do you have a copy? And he doesn't quite copy yet, but we'll wait for him for just a moment. And
hey,
so,
Trevor.
Hey, yes, Jason.
He just ran to the bathroom, sorry.
We always figured that there's possibility of a bio break at the end of these things. So, Jason, I appreciate you joining us here and being ready for the interview. Hey, bud, tell me about it today. You didn't have the same sort of self-inflicted stuff that caught you out in season 12. Here we're starting season 13, lucky number 13, and you're starting it off in third place. Congratulations, and great way to start the season. And tell us about your race today.
Man, with the new dynamic weather we're trying this season, the track was super cold. There was just grip everywhere, so we could do whatever we wanted. In some ways, that's great. In some ways, it's not. Just there's no tire wear whatsoever. We were still at 93% at the end of a fuel run on tire wear, which is just crazy. It was easy to get into the pits.
Double step the tires, maybe.
It was just it was easy to get into the pits. It was easy to get out of the pits as long as you minded your P's and Q's. I stopped a lap early on my last stint. I mentally did make an error there, and I actually had to go to fuel map 8 for 2 laps. Oh, wow. And I still ran out of fuel coming out of turn 3 on the last lap. I coasted to the line and coasted all the way around. And several other people, David Strid was a little bit short on fuel. Manuel was a little bit short on fuel. We actually ran 60% fuel today from our normal 70%. We tried that out. Not sure if we're going to continue it or not. But like you said, I didn't make so many errors today as I have in the last season. I kind of got my act together. Very happy to be on the podium. I was happy to qualify second. David Strid sniped me at the last second for the pole, but I'm okay with that. So positive start to the season. Congratulations to Graham on winning the race. Congratulations to Howard for a good second. Thanks to StickQuik for once again sponsoring our broadcast. And thank you, Trevor, for the awesome job you do. And we had a new member to the league this week. I have to look and see his name. I'm horrible on names. We had a new guy this week.
Troy Profit.
Troy, yeah, and he ran up front, was a real stable guy. I believe he's a friend of Rick Kelbaugh's, and don't know where Dan Ensch was today. It would have been his type of race, but hopefully he'll be back with us next week.
You betcha. Great field here today, and again, just continuing that reputation of being a super clean, league with no cautions here today. It gave a great chance for that green flag strategy to play out, and that's why we're talking about the fuel mileage game, as it really did come into effect. And still making a mistake, in terms of which lap exactly to come in on. The point being that you were able to recover from that and know how to mitigate that disaster. And mark of a professional is not how he goes into a job, but how he covers up for his mistakes. From my book. Nevertheless, Jason, you've got a lot of great years of racing experience, and to start it off in third this season, hopefully we're looking at another championship run from yourself.
Well, we'll see how it all works out week to week. Sure do have fun with these guys. And once again, congratulations to Graham and Howard. I feel real happy to be on the podium with them. And thank you, Trevor.
My pleasure. That's Jason Lowe joining us there from third place on the podium. We're going to get a chance to talk with some of our other podium members. As I mentioned, Jason Lowe's the guy to talk to if you want to get involved with the US IndyCar League, just like Troy Profit did today. Was able to get out there, give it a run, and get up there towards the top 5. So check them out down in the description. You can click the link or head over on iRacing.com and contact Jason Lowe. His actual name is Jason Lowe 4. For some reason. I guess there's 3 other Jason Lowe's on iRacing. I don't know. There we go. So let's go ahead and see if we could talk. Is Howard Livingston around? You got a copy, Howard?
I got you, Trevor. How you doing, buddy?
There he is. I'm fantastic, man. I just saw a great green flag all the way through race from Las Vegas. And you know what was amazing? You went so far on that first stint. I thought if this does turn into a total fuel mileage thing, you might have this one locked up in the bag. Or if the cautions come out at exactly the right time. But tell us about your race today, and tell us how you got into contention for that race win there at the very end.
Well, strategy-wise, 2 things. One, I just didn't want to mess up or wreck or going in and out of the pits, and that worked out. First stint, I was able to really use conserve fuel and went a little longer than the other folks. And I'm glad I did that, because the second stint, I actually lost the draft from the leaders. So I was kind of running all by myself there. But fortunately, I'd saved enough the first one. And then third stint, I was able to start drafting again. And toward the end, I was still low on fuel. And fortunately, Graham came around and I tucked in behind him. And that kind of pulled me to the end. And couldn't get around him, though. Graham is Graham. He's just incredible. So I'll take a second behind him any day.
Well, super difficult to pass here. And, we saw David Zaleski executing that white line, IRL line around Las Vegas that is pretty dominant, very difficult to make a pass around the outside. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess to some extent, I don't think anybody, including Graham Bunyan himself, could have tried to make a pass around somebody for that lead if they were hugging that white line. But nevertheless, you gave it your all and you were close to being in the right place. Hey, you had third place in the championship last season, very hard fought. And you didn't get the victory at Las Vegas last season. You come in and you did the previous season. This season, you come in Las Vegas, first race, second place. You're going to start the season in second place in the points. Hey, it's got to feel pretty good heading into season 13 in second place.
Yeah, I'm just so pleased with the race today. I mean, not only with myself, but all the other drivers. I mean, this is can be a tough track, and boy, green flag the whole way. That just speaks volumes about all the other drivers.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about how that went for you today. I mean, what's it like racing at over 220 miles an hour side by side with other cars and all that aero push, having to mitigate that and look at your gap times to the leader and try and figure out how to get in people's drafts? I mean, it seems like there's a lot to do behind the wheel of one of these cars.
Yeah, especially a track like this because it is so fast, and it's a wide track, so you do get 2 and 3 wide. The main thing for me, I just was trying not, especially the early stints, I just wanted to tuck in behind behind some folks and save some fuel, and that worked out. But normally I would be way more concerned on a track like this, with 2 and 3 wide as we were doing. But again, hats off to these drivers. They are consistent. They're good. And it's really a pleasure to race with them. And hats off and congratulations, StickQuik, for the great job they've done sponsoring us.
Well, as we take a look here at the last laps, of course, you were having to deal with David Zaleski, was kind of mixed up in that group. But you're taking a look at the backside of Graham Bunyan. You try him around the outside. At this point, was there anything else that you could do for that final? I mean, is there any way, did you have an extra plan of how to get a little bit more speed around the outside, or do you think that outside line is just, it's never going to work?
I'd never say never, but boy, it's a tough one, especially with Graham. He's a pro. My only hope was, if something happens, if he screwed up somehow, which he doesn't. Or if he ran out of fuel a little before the line, which he didn't. So basically, I was trying, but there was no good happen.
Well, you got a chance to get the Care Camps organization out there and get some more exposure, and of course carrying them with you every time you're racing. But we'll get a chance to see more of the Care Camps at Indy as well, and just great what you're doing for the kids down there in Florida.
Thank you, Trevor. And we're just a little tiny spoke on a great big wheel. It's all the folks that are so generous to all this kids with cancer. So it's a great program. Thank you.
Totally, absolutely. Great to have you on here with us, Howard, and congratulations getting that second place. You were a stone's throw away from getting the first victory of the first race of the season, and we do certainly wish you luck for the rest of the season. I think it's going to be a really exciting one.
Thank you so very much, and thanks for doing such an incredible job on the broadcast.
You betcha. Thank you. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday down there. You got a gig going?
No, I think it's probably going to be a day to either go on a boat or jump in the pool with the dogs.
I've been seeing a lot of your photos over on Facebook. It's been fun watching. You live quite a beautiful lifestyle, and how cool you get to add IndyCar driver to the list of other things, including hanging out with a great family in a great place. And your sunset photos are absolutely special. I prize that every day, so keep posting them, okay?
We will. I promise you, keep doing it.
All right. Thanks, Howard, for joining us there from second place. Great talking to him, as always. Great representative for Care Camps and the Coconut Castaways, that group down there in Florida, doing some great work for kids and their supporters who are suffering with cancer. And so we get a chance to talk to the man himself, the two-time champion of the US IndyCar League, and now victorious here in the very first round of season 13. It is live from Australia, Graham Bunyan, ladies and gentlemen, joining us here for conversation. Hey, Graham, congratulations, my friend. It's starting off the same way it ended last season, with a bang.
Yeah, wow, what a season opener, right? It had everything. Fuel mileage, it had wrecks coming into the pits. People running short of fuel. It had everything. It was good.
So talk us through the race, how it went for you. You started second. I mean, I'm sure you were kind of prepared for, with David Stryd and yourself qualifying pretty well. You're thinking, well, it could be a David Stryd, Graham Bunyan swap fest kind of day, but it didn't really work out that way. You had a lot of challengers along the way.
Yeah, look, it was just the percentage of fuel we were running today. It was one of those ones that you didn't save, you weren't going to make it. You found out you were stuck out the front lead, you were definitely going to get stuck with that. But I had no idea coming into this weekend. I think we were trying to work out how to paint the car. So I'd finished doing that at about 3 minutes before I had to join for the race.
You're painting, doing your custom livery.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I can now see
trying to work that out, my God.
Well, definitely, and apologize for making you have to do that. It's not me personally, but we can shout out the Rolling Stones. Certainly, we can shout out any of the companies that got removed. But I know that Rolling Stones, your wife's favorite band, and so that was kind of meaningful. And that also was a Justin Wilson tribute livery, which is awesome. So. But we do appreciate you going with that, and it looks sharp, black and red still, and well, either way, it sliced and diced its way eventually to victory here for the first race. So now, regarding fuel mileage, how close was it for you? Because listening to Howard Livingston, he said a number of drivers did run out of fuel, but he said his only hope was that maybe you might run out of fuel. So did you have enough in the tank for another lap, or was it that close on the final lap that you might have run out?
I have enough for when I was going to pass me out, I'd catch him the car, pass me out.
Hey, Graham. Hey, Graham, hang on just 1 second, bud. We're getting a lot of weird feedback through Discord. We don't normally get that, but we are separated by like an entire half of a planet, so there could be a problem. Let's try it again. How did that work out?
I don't know.
There we go. Now you're back. Okay, let's do that one more time. See if we can.
Yeah, look, I had the plan was to say 30 runs, which I did, and the lap later than what we normally in these headed along getting to get to the end. I was parked the car outside at the time, but the pass from the outside was good,
I understood none of that, unfortunately. I appreciate you letting me know. It looks like we're suffering some technical difficulties with our Discord, and that's a bummer because we would love to get those thoughts from you there, Graham. I would love to have you continue, but I'm not sure that the problem is going to rectify itself. Let's try one more time. Can you hear me, Graham?
Yeah.
I think we're still having this breakup, so that's unfortunate. I'd love to get more words from you, and we promise to our viewers we'll get a chance to talk a little bit more about the fuel strategy and stuff like that for the next round. It could very well be our internet connection. You never know with the internet, but nevertheless, not quite picking it up here. But thank you so much, Graham, for joining us here. Obviously, big congratulations. We'll look forward to getting your interview a little bit later for next Sunday, and we'll get a chance to talk with you about it. Thank you so much for joining us, Graham, and thanks to everybody for sticking around and sticking with us through this, and we'll definitely try to get that sorted out for next week. In the meantime, it was a fantastic victory from Graham Bunyan, continuing his winning ways here in the US IndyCar League, taking first place in the first race of season 13. You saw it here live on VirtualRacing.Network. So that will bring, unfortunately, today's race to a close. I say unfortunately because it went by just so darn quickly with that full green flag. Nevertheless, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Let's go ahead and get our schedule up there on the screen. There it is. It was Vegas this week. We got Pocono coming up next week. Then Kentucky, Texas, and Daytona. Now that's our road course race for the season. That should be a fun one to watch. It's the Daytona road course. It's a nice wide open road course. Of course, do a lot of endurance racing there come around January time. And then we'll be visiting Milwaukee, which is great. I love short tracks. I don't think we get to do enough short tracks in this league. That's one where we'll get to see some definite mastery of being able to operate those tools in the cockpit. Then we'll have Charlotte, another classic D-Shaper, followed by another classic D-Shaper, Atlanta, all sister tracks to Las Vegas here. Then we get to the California Speedway out in Fontana. Probably one of the last times we'll get to see it before it gets absolutely... I won't use an offensive term, but it'll get destroyed and turned into a different short track at some point, which I love short tracks, but I don't necessarily want to see a speedway like California Speedway turned into a short track. Nevertheless, Talladega Superspeedway next, then Kansas, and then finally legendary Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and of course a very special race where we get a chance to talk about the Care Camps organization. I do expect that we'll also get an ALZ.org race at one of these races, but it's not going to be at Iowa since we're not there this season. So that will do it for us here on the broadcast, and on behalf of Graham Bunyan, who unfortunately didn't quite get a chance to finish his statement as the victor here, and also on behalf of the rest of the competitors here, the US IndyCar League and VirtualRacing.Network. It's been a pleasure to bring you this opening round. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. You'll get a chance to see all of the upcoming races here for the US IndyCar League and any other coverage that we do of Indy cars, including possibly the Prime Meridian Racing League. That is definitely the season finale coming up this next Wednesday, and we very well possibly could be covering the series going forward as well, and we will have some other announcements as far as our coverage heading forward, so make sure to stick around for that. In the meantime, on behalf of everybody, it's Trevor Greenfield saying, hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Take a few minutes, smell the roses, take a deep breath, enjoy this planet, and definitely enjoy the sunset like Mr. Howard Livingston and company. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Good luck, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.